Okay, so first I want to address how I sound. Um, I woke up this morning with a really dry throat, and I also had a stuffy nose, and I've been dealing with that all day, as well as my stomach that, is just out of shape right now. So I apologize for the way that I sound and also the way that I look because I conked out for a little bit after the show had ended. But I am still going to give you my review of this show because it demands it. Um, my name is Daniel Strunk. Welcome to QuickTime Reactions, and this is my review of the final premium live event that is going to be on Peacock, well, at least main roster PLE, and that is Clash in Paris. I thought tonight's show was really good. There were some really good matches on the night that we'll get into, but much like with Backlash a couple years back, um, very much so. The crowd elevated what was like, a B level show into a really good show. Um, and it was just so awesome to hear a lively crowd for a PLE because, sometimes here in the States that doesn't necessarily happen. So it was really cool to hear a lively crowd all throughout the night for this show. But enough of me explaining. Well, we're going to get into a lot more explaining, but let's go over what happened on the show, shall we? We open things up with Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. Um, and this match turned out to be exactly what I thought it was going to be. Bronson getting a lot of the offense, with, Reigns getting some flurries of hope here and there. Um, but Bronson looked really good in this. Um, but then, of course, Roman then comes back towards the end, hits a spear, and he wins the matchup. Again, it was pretty much what I thought the match was going to be. Um, Bronson doing a lot of the blows with, some glimpses of hope, and then the comeback for Reigns. But after the match is where things get really spicy. Um, Bronson is laid out, and so Roman gets in the ring with Paul Heyman, who has the Shula Fala, and Heyman's doing everything that he can to try and get out of this. He gives Roman the Shula Fala, and Roman's like, alright, we're good. Now, psych, he puts him in the guillotine, and Paul passes out. Um, he gets the shoes untied. Well, he doesn't get them untied. He basically gets scissors and, cuts them. And he signs the shoes and throws them into the crowd, which I thought was really cool. But then Braun Breaker shows up and spears Roman through the announce table. And this leads to all-out carnage with Braun and Bronson basically incapacitating Roman. Bronson hitting 3 tsunamis onto Roman, a couple of which were on the backboard of a gurney. Jeyuso, who's going to be in the main event, comes out to try and help out his cousin, but he comes out a little worse for wear as he gets speared by Braun during all of the fracas. So Roman's out to go film his stuff for the Street Fighter movie, and Jay is banged up heading into the main event. Backstage, Adam Pearce is livid about what has happened and basically says, you both need to get out of here, and if I even see you in this arena again, you both will be suspended indefinitely without pay. So The rest of the vision is basically taken care of. So how on earth is Seth going to come back against the odds? Well, we'll find out later on. We then go to the WWE Tag Title match between the Street Profits and the wyattsicks. Street Profits coming out in some Borderlands-inspired gear, which I thought looked really, really cool. It was pretty good back and forth. Early on in the match, the Street Profits teased a bit of dissension between them, because that is the story. That was the story that they were telling. Especially on the last SmackDown with Bo Dallas trying to slowly but surely drive that wedge in between them. But yeah, just a really good matchup. I love the way that Dexter and Joe Gacy tag with each other. They're just so crisp and smooth, and yet also chaotic at the exact same time. I don't know how they're able to balance that, but it somehow works, and it's awesome. Towards the end of the match, everyone's on the outside. Dawkins pounces Gacy into the barricade. It was either Gacy or Loomis. And then Eric Rowan comes by. Loomis pounces Dawkins into the crowd. Ford with his big dive over the post. Tries to get back in the ring, but Nikki Cross is under the ring and stops him. And Uncle Howdy, who Ford had just given big suck it taunts to, he shouldn't have done that. Uncle Howdy comes over, hits him with his sister Abigail, and chucks him in the ring. wyattsicks hit their tag finish, which is called the Plague, which I think is a really cool name for their tag finish. And they pick up the win. They retain their tag titles over the Street Profits. Like I said, really good match between them, and I just really like how the wyattsicks work in the ring. We then go on to the women's IC title match, Becky Lynch versus Nikkibella. A really good matchup between the two of them. The one thing, though, that I will say is when Nikki went for her disaster kick, I don't know if she was supposed to hit Becky or if Becky was supposed to move out of the way, but she missed by a very comfortable margin, and so I don't know what exactly the plan was in that instance. But other than that, it was a really good match. A lot of good back and forth between the two of them. A lot of chances of trying to hit each other finishers, with Nikki actually hitting the manhandle slam and trying to lock in the disarmor during the matchup. But Becky was able to outsmart her, and she ends up getting the backslide pin that she used at Evolution to pin Nikki and retain her women's IC title. And Wade Barrett called that pin the Lynch pin, which I think is an absolutely amazing name. No notes. Keep using that. That's awesome. But yeah, Becky Lynch is still the women's IC champion. We then go to John Cena versus Logan Paul, which I sincerely thought was going to be the main event, but considering what happens in our actual main event, I guess that's... actually, no, it wasn't Cena and Logan Paul. It was Sheamus and Rusev in the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. And like I stated in my predictions, this was a physical from the word go. Just wailing on each other. Rusev doing the 10 beats of the Bowrin. Sheamus giving it back in kind, even having him draped over the bar. Rusev hit a big power bomb through the bar. Sheamus hit White Noise off of the barrels through two tables, sponsored by Slim Jim, by the way. which I hate the fact that the tables and stuff have sponsors on them. It just makes me laugh. In the end, though, Rusev locked in the Accolade, which he had locked in earlier in the match, but Sheamus got out of. Um, Rusev then got the shillelagh, which he had cracked over Sheamus's head towards the tail end of the match. He grabs that, locks in the Accolade, and wrenches back far enough for Sheamus to tap out. And they put over on commentary that this was the one of only 2 times that Sheamus had tapped out, and that is pretty interesting. Sorry, I'm texting somebody. But yeah, that's a huge feather in the cap for Rusev. And by the way, this is the only match that I got wrong in my predictions, was the Donnybrook match. Everything else I got correct in my predictions. Then we go to John Cena versus Logan Paul, and this was probably the best match on the whole show, in my opinion. These two had really good chemistry with each other. Just lots of really good back and forth. They were busting out moves that you never typically see from them. Of course, Logan did all of his stuff, like the buckshot and all that stuff. But he also hit a swanton as well. I've not seen him do a swanton. He did the octopus hold, which he has done on rare occasions. And of course, Cena busted out the code red, which I always love seeing. But they also did a couple of other people's finish, like Logan Paul hit the zigzag, John Cena hit the end of days, and he also hit a Styles Clash on Logan Paul for a near fall, which I thought was really, really cool. But in the end, though, Cena was able to get the win after not being able to get a avalanche AA. He catches Logan Paul out of a crossbody, hits one AA, combos it up with another, and then pins Logan Paul to win the match. And they had pointed out that Cena was just a couple of wins away from being at 100 PLE wins. So I think he'll probably hit that before his retirement tour is done. That's just my assumption, anyway. But yeah, this was probably my match of the night. It was really, really good. Lots of good back and forth, and the crowd was into it 1,000%. Which then goes on to the main event of the night for the World Heavyweight title. Seth Rollins versus Jeyuso versus LA Knight versus CMPunk. The match was really, really good. Of course, Seth doesn't have the vision out there. No Heyman, no Braun, no Bronson. And so, there's going to be alliances in terms of, trying to deal with Seth. But, of course, those alliances are going to crumble. There's a lot of good work in between, the combinations of guys in this matchup, and it was really, really, really good. The flow and the pace also worked out really, really well. We get towards the tail end of the match where it is Punk and Seth mainly in the ring, and Seth is just yelling at Punk, "You will never, ever have this title. You will never be able to say that you beat me for a championship, etc., etc." But of course, all that trash talking. Eventually, Seth gets in position to potentially get hit with a GTS when someone in a balaclava comes in and hits a low blow on Punk. And the person removes that balaclava, and it is none other than Seth's wife, Becky Lynch. There was a chair in the ring, so Seth hit a stomp on that chair, and Seth was able to pick up the win and retain his World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm hoping that this this means that Becky is part of the Vision, because I think that would work out really well. She's already a heel, so why not have her aligned with, her husband, and why not have the first Paul Heyman gal ever? So, I think it writes itself. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my review of Clash in Paris. Like I said, match outcomes were predictable, but the match themselves were really, really fun, and the crowd was absolutely astounding all night long. They were red hot for every single thing that came their way, and it was just a bucket of fun. But yeah, that is the end of an era on Peacock. But just because WWE may be moving to ESPN does not mean that my coverage of their PLEs is going to stop. Oh, no, no. I've already found other ways of watching the shows. So just be on the lookout for my reviews in the coming future. And no, I'm not paying $30 for the ESPN app. That's not happening. But until what's next? WrestlePalooza in September. Until then, guys, be safe out there, and I will catch you guys next time.